Hello, Kathy Brennan here. Would you like to look better, feel better, and do better? Yeah, me too. Well, today we're talking about the habit of having positive self talk. It's a habit because we can have the habit of negative self talk. Let's talk about what it is. Positive self talk is anything that helps you feel encouraged and hopeful and powerful and strong and smart and in control. Negative self talk, on the other hand, is anything that makes you feel angry or frustrated or overwhelmed or timid or weak or bad. Doesn't positive self talk sound better than negative self talk? It is. Why is this a habit? Or why is it a good habit? Why would you want the habit of positive self talk? Well, when we speak positively, we show up better at work. We show up better in our relationships, and it positively impacts the quality of our life. It's a good habit. The problem is, it's easier to be negative. At least it is for me. You can decide for yourself. It's easier to fall into, that didn't go right, or I wish I would have done that better, or I can't do anything right. I don't look good. I don't sound good. We can easily think bad things instead of positive. So it takes a little work to create the habit of positive self-talk. All this narrative that's in your mind about how things are going and how your world is and how you feel about yourself and how you feel about what's in front of you. Positive self-talk. So, how do we start this habit? Well, let me give you an example of this negative self-talk that's real easy to become aware of it, because that's where it starts, becoming aware of your own negative self-talk. I live in Minnesota, and we love to talk about the weather. And we don't just talk about the weather, period. We talk about the weather in a negative way. Just become aware of what you're saying about the weather. So, whether or not I complain about it doesn't matter. The weather's the weather. If I think that, oh, this is so terrible and it's disrupted my life and it rained today and it wasn't supposed to rain and I have a party outside and well, that doesn't change anything. So what I say in my mind about the weather will affect whether or not I'm grumpy. It will affect how well I can think. It will affect how my day feels. The weather. Be aware of what you're thinking and feeling about the weather and what you're saying, because what we think is going to come out of our mouth. Then that will become. So having a positive spin on the weather, it just is. Like, it doesn't change it. So we can decide if we are going to have a positive self-talk about the weather or just no talk about the weather. But when we fall into the habit of the negative self-talk about weather, it will just change our day for the worse. Recently, I was really, really challenged on this positive self-talk thing. I got hit with something that came out of the blue, something that was the biggest terrible slap in the face that I've had in 29 years in business. This is the craziest thing ever. And I think that these habits are serving me well because I got to practice positive self-talk, because how my day went had nothing to do with other people's opinions, other people's actions. It had to do 100% with how I reacted to those. Sometimes we fall into negative self-talk because we just don't feel well. That was another thing that happened. After this other deal, I had the stomach flu and I just didn't feel good. And that is another time where it's easy to fall into negative self-talk, and you can practice the positive. I mean, I'm laying in bed, feeling uncomfortable. But I had all kinds of reasons actually to be grateful. I didn't have anywhere I had to go. My husband was sick with me too, which misery loves company. I mean, we take turns giving each other back rubs. It was, when I think overall, I'm extremely healthy for my age. I hadn't been sick since I didn't know when. And so there were all kinds of ways to look at it in a positive light. But when we fall into negative self-talk, it's like we're eating junk food. It's like we're making ourselves sick. So it takes a little effort and it takes intention to create the positive self-talk. But when you do, your day will be better. You'll feel lighter. It'll probably age you less. It probably helps your immune system. It's a good habit to have. So the weather, yeah, start there. Just be aware of it. So another couple areas that have been for me, and you'll find your own examples. Pickleball. I've mentioned this a few times that I have taken up pickleball this last 4 months, and I'm enjoying it. And I'm clearly not the best player. I'm getting better, and then someone has to be the worst. But I'm not that proficient at pickleball. So it's this, I can easily fall into, you're not so good. And it can turn into you're kind of a klutz, and it can turn into you shouldn't be doing this anyways. But these times when we come up against our humanity, against our failures, we can fall into the negative self-talk. But I could find easily, I loved being there. I love running around. I love the games. You meet all these people. There are all kinds of ways to look at it in a positive light. Another one for me is golf. I also enjoy golf, but in 40 years, I'm not really much better. So what do I say to myself? Do I give up on it, and do I stop doing it because the negative talk can come in? Or do if with the positive self-talk, I can pick out all the things I like about it and enjoy that activity? It's just a practice. These are good places for me to practice. So find whatever your place is. What is it that the negative self-talk comes in easily? It just takes a little intention and a little creativity to turn whatever it is into a positive. So I was the queen of negative self-talk for most of my life. And let me tell you about this. I've mentioned this before. With anxiety and depression, I had a habit of negative self-talk. And the problem was I didn't realize it. So much of what goes on in our minds, no one knows. And we're kind of not tuned into it. We can be judging the things around us or saying bad things, these sweeping bad statements in our minds. And a lot of them we hold in because we would be embarrassed to say them. And what turns out is we were like beating ourselves over the head with these negative thoughts. And so I read a book by Lucinda Bassett called From Panic to Power. And it gave this method of getting over negative self-talk because it's so prevalent with those of us who have anxiety and depression, or I had. You get a little notebook, and when you have a negative thought and become aware of it, you write it down on the left-hand side of the paper. And then on the right side, you replace that negative thought with the truth. It can't be something so crazy that you don't even believe it. So this is the example I give, and I'm sure many young moms feel this way. I would think I am the worst mom in the world. And I might think that because my kids weren't behaving, or I was tired, or something didn't go right. And I would replace it with this thought. I'm a mom, and I love my kids. Because that's the truth. That's something I can believe. But until I became until I became aware that I was having that negative thought and learned the skill to replace it with the truth, I was just kind of captivated by my negative thoughts, and they just kept running around and around. In a matter of about 2 weeks, I could easily catch my negative thought, replace it with a positive one, or just even the truthful one, and I was no longer a slave to those negative thoughts. Have a habit of positive self-talk. It will absolutely change your life. It absolutely changed mine. It's a good habit to have. Practice on the low-hanging fruit, on the weather, or whatever it is that you can complain about. Practice this habit. It'll take you a while, maybe just even a couple weeks. I really recommend that, writing them down. That's the quickest way to get rid of this. And it will be a habit that will change your life for the better. You will look better, feel better, and do better. Be well, my friends.